Hey everyone, Cheri here, your dysgraphia consultant. I'm here today with Emily Gibbons from the Literacy Nest. Welcome, Emily. How are you today?
Hi, Cheri. Thank you so much for having me. And greetings to all of your wonderful folks that are following you. Yeah, I'm here to have a little chat with you. And yeah, any questions you want to answer, I'd be happy to answer them for you.
Wonderful. So one of the things, the reasons I had you on is you have something amazing coming up here in the next couple weeks.
Yeah.
Your Building Readers for Life conference opens. Can you tell us about that?
Yes. So, Building Readers for Life is the name of the conference. It's our second annual online conference. I have teamed up with, let's see, we have, oh my goodness, we have 16 different presentations. We,
16 presentations
yes, and
over
we,
how long a time?
and we'll start our access August 5th. Excuse me. No, that was last year's date. Excuse me. It starts August 3rd.
Okay.
I have the paper right in front of me. I should have just looked at it. And anybody who attends gets to have 3 months of access. So all the videos are
Wow.
pre-recorded and you get to go in and watch. And there's just such a wide variety of topics this year.
That
So
is great.
I'm just
Tell
thrilled to have people join us, and it's flexible. So you don't have to, get dressed up. You could watch them in your PJs. You could listen to them while you're walking your dog or exercising, whatever you want.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So tell us some of the topics that of some of those presenters.
Yes. So we're going to kick off with a big overview of the science of reading.
The science of reading.
I mean, it's a hot topic.
Who'd have thought that reading was a science
I
years ago,
know,
you know?
right? Yep. We're going to talk about metacognition. We're talking about the role of empathy when we're dealing with our struggling readers. We have Nancy Young talking about her ladder of reading, where she talks about exceptional children, particularly twice exceptional children, and some strategies with them. We have Kendall is going to be our speech and language pathologist who'll give a bit of a perspective from that side of the therapy treatment with dyslexia. We have some strategies for early literacy. We're going to dive
Mhm.
into spelling rules. Um, we have a presentation on all about structured literacy in an online intervention session because we know that's a hot topic, right?
Mhm.
Everything's online now. We have tips for assistive technology. We have incorporating word study, namely structured word inquiry, into your Orton Gillingham lessons. We have reading comprehension strategies and written response. We I can keep going, right?
You
Tips for
can.
homeschooling children with dyslexia. We're going to talk about helping struggling students with math. Dysgraphia will be you, and also about equity among the services that we provide for children and why being fair really doesn't
Okay.
mean doing the same for everybody.
Oh my goodness. I didn't real I keep seeing the spotlights come up and I've been sharing as many as I can as I'm seeing them. And sometimes I'm seeing them and I can't get to them to share them. So I'm missing a couple here and there. But really the in depth and breadth of this conference is bigger than I imagined.
It
And
is.
and I really would like to emphasize that occupational therapists really that are working in the schools really are needing education around dyslexia, dysgraphia, and all the pieces that go along with it. One of the things that is happening right now is you have a discussion group that's going on alongside this conference that you're doing, and they happen to be reading my book right now, which is blowing my mind. But one of the things that one of the girls talked about was the structured word inquiry. I can't say the word. So,
Oh, yeah.
but I have That is the first time I've ever heard of it, was
Mhm.
that and I have no idea what that is. So there are gonna be terms that are gonna come up throughout this conference that I've never heard of. So I'm looking forward to learning more about
Yes.
them. But in the meantime, you have to tell me what that is, that structured word inquiry.
Well, it was developed by, it's actually, I would say it's a bit of an approach more than any one program to
Okay.
dealing with the English writing system. So, studying the history of the English language, but also putting the emphasis on the meaningful structure of the words
Okay. So is it a little
before
bit of
we address the
is there a little
phonological
bit of linguistics
perspective.
involved? Yeah, is it a little
Yes.
bit yeah,
Yes,
okay.
absolutely.
My
Yep,
my
there is
daughter my daughter studied linguistics as one of her electives in college.
yes, absolutely. So there's a bit of that involved, but really looking at the morphological structure of words and seeing how
Mm.
words are related to one another, the history behind them, but also incorporating the phonological aspect of that as well. But
Yeah, I
there's a
wish I would
structure
have
to it.
known you back as I was writing this thing in 17 and 18, and I would have had a foundation of where to go with some of that spelling stuff that I was struggling with, and knew that OTs could help, but we're really trying to be a creative way to help that area. That's what I've worked on, that whole visual, auditory, and kinesthetic approach with the body
Yes.
sentence alphabet.
Right. And the multisensory teaching, as I have learned over the years through my own study of Wharton Gillingham and working with children with dyslexia, and from your book, really, we know that that is just such a crucial part of the way we work with
Hmm.
children, not just our dyslexic children, but all children.
All children.
Um, the strategies that we'll be talking about in the conference really work for all kids. That's the best part about this. That's good
Hmm.
sound teaching that follows the principles of a structured literacy model that we believe will benefit all children, not just
Okay.
children who struggle with reading.
That's great. And I really when I was writing the book, I had all children in mind, and really was trying to help close that gap between all children. So that's fabulous. It's wonderful. Um,
Yeah.
so tell me a little bit about what your day looks like outside the virtual summit that we're doing. What is it that you do? How did you get involved with Orton Gillingham and dyslexia and dysgraphia? Where do you come from? Like, tell me a little bit about you.
So back in 2003, I tell
Oh.
everybody this story. I was invited into a book group in a school I was teaching at, and we were reading a groundbreaking new book by Dr. Sally Shaywitz, and we all know what that book is, Overcoming
Oh, yes,
Dyslexia.
that book.
So,
Yes.
back in 2003 and
Wish you would have
2004,
warned me about that. I have it right around
yeah,
the corner, but it's too far. I
yeah.
can't just flash it up right now.
Right. That lit the flame. And that is
Ah,
when I first became trained in Project Read and
okay.
phonology and framing your thoughts and using all that good multisensory instruction. And I was using it in the classroom as an inclusion teacher. I was teaching third grade, taught third grade for many, many years, but knew I needed to go much more deeply into my study of intervention with dyslexia and dyslexic students, helping
Mhm.
them, reaching the students in my class. So I put myself through Orton Gillingham training before I started my family. And my first training was a year-long process with a practicum, and
Mhm.
I was teaching full time and having my supervisor come and watch me and observe my Orton Gillingham lessons after school, where I would tutor students and get my training. And then I finished that, and a few years after that, I had my family. I had first my twins, and then my daughter, and then one more son. So
Oh my
things
goodness.
became very, very busy. I knew I wasn't going back into the classroom full time, but I also had my Orton Gillingham training under my belt. So I'd always been tutoring in Orton
Mhm.
Gillingham. But what I found was the materials at the time were few and far between what I needed to reach my kids. And
Okay.
at the same time, it felt very isolated. What I did, a lot of people didn't understand what I was doing.
Yeah,
And
I think that's still the case, but I think it's
yeah,
better than it was maybe 10 years ago.
yeah. So there were two things. I wanted to create resources that I knew my students could access, but I also wanted to create a community and build some relationships up, but also help to spread dyslexia awareness. So that's sort of how the literacy nest really was born. I just
Mm.
started creating. I had always been writing my own passages, making up my own games. I just really enjoyed that creative side, even though I wasn't a full-time classroom teacher anymore. I also realized that I do truly love working one-on-one in reading intervention, with using the Orton Gillingham method. So I've just kind of stuck with that all these years, where I just tutor one student at a time now privately.
You sound like an OT.
And then I also went back for further training for 2 more years. So I
Yeah,
just went on and on with my training. And I'm sorry, go ahead.
you sound like an occupational therapist at
Oh,
heart.
the learning just hasn't stopped. Um, so I've just continued to try and just keep the community growing, where we're sort of building this bridge between communicating our knowledge with our families, classroom teachers, and all of the people
Mhm.
that are really in the thick of helping children with dyslexia. Because I really think that there's been a bit of a disconnect over
Oh,
the
yes.
years and a
Yes, there
lot
has.
of misinformation.
Yes.
So we're trying to just keep that bridge built, keep those connections going, and keep them strong, and help families as well as their children.
Yeah. And I was as I was learning more and more and more about dyslexia
Hmm.
and really getting into what I was trying to answer, I had a twice exceptional student who was reading above grade level and just could not put anything in writing. And mom's going, why? Why? And I'm going,
Had that.
I don't know. I don't know. So, and as I started delving into it and looking at it, really trying to find and understand the delineation between the dyslexia and the dysgraphia and the dyscalculia, I couldn't figure anything out. And so I kept delving into what is this dysgraphia piece? Like, how is that differentiated from a general writing problem? Like, why are handwriting problems a thing? And so I was really looking at trying to understand for myself what's going on. And
Right.
what I discovered was there was no information out there about dysgraphia. I'm like, okay, well, I got to put
Yeah.
something out. And I really was concerned about offending the dyslexia community by separating and delineating it, but I tried to do it from a neuro standpoint. So what I say to people is dyslexia is the reading piece, and that's the sensory piece. Anytime you try to pull it back out, oral motor or written expression, that's either when it's a dysfunction, it's a dyspraxia or it's a dysgraphia. And
Hmm.
if you get math involved, you get the dyscalculia. And I tried to explain it that way, and it seems to have had people think. And
Absolutely.
so I'm hoping that people understand and learn that from my segment in your conference.
Yeah. You
But
know
I
what's
seem and it seems like the couple people I've interacted with you in that book group, they have learned a lot about the neuro pieces behind reading and writing, and I'm grateful for that.
Yes, we dyslexia practitioners know a great deal. We study a great deal about the reading brain and how the reading process works. And I found from reading your book that I was learning even more about the brain than I actually ever thought I knew. So
Well, good
there
that
was quite a
it
bit
met the
more that
need
I
that I
didn't
need.
know about.
It met the need I wanted it to meet.
Yes.
So thank you for reassuring me on that one.
Yeah,
So,
it also solidified the um, because I think there's been a little bit of debate in the past year about, where's the research in multisensory instruction? How does it work? And we're not so sure if it does and things like that. And I think your book really solidified for me and a lot of other readers in that group that yes, there is a place and yes, it is effective. And here's the reason why, which ties
wow.
back to parts of the
Okay.
brain.
Wow. Thank you.
Yes.
That
So,
blows my mind. Okay.
yeah.
Wow, I'm glad we got to talk about that.
Yeah.
Uh, so what do you say was the biggest takeaway out of the book that you've been able to use in your treatment sessions?
I would say that, first of all, just knowing that there are different types of dysgraphia rather
Mm-hmm.
than the classic motor
Mm-hmm.
dysgraphia that we all sort of, I think, are familiar with,
Mm-hmm.
that there's a lot more in there. I also found that there is a deep connection between the executive function
Mm-hmm.
and dysgraphia. Now, we had read a book by Kelly Cartwright in the book group all about executive functioning and reading comprehension prior to your book. And
Mm-hmm.
anybody that was in the group that had read that book and then read yours thought, wow, I really feel like I need to go back to the executive function book and while we're also reading
Mm,
this, because there are so many strong connections there
there
when
sure
we're working
are.
with these kids.
There sure
So
are.
that's my biggest takeaway.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. What I have really come to understand is motor is really a different neurological piece of the puzzle. Like, although we have the visual spatial, we have the motor, we have the memory, I really think that I'm really coming to believe that a true pure dysgraphia is more of a memory issue than it is the motor issue. Those kids that have a motor issue have a
Mm,
separate and additional neurological condition like ADHD or autism or
right.
cerebral palsy or one of those other conditions, and
Mm,
they kind of supersede the dysgraphia. So the dysgraphia is a comorbid issue,
good point. Hmm.
and that memory is the really big dilemma with the writing that we really need to conquer.
Right. And that's why the multisensory piece is just so important to help
It's why
that,
it's yes.
right?
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
right.
Exactly.
So, no, I was so grateful for all those points that you made in your book. So,
Oh,
good stuff. Good stuff. And I keep telling everybody, okay, okay, I hope she writes a part two to this book because we just want more.
I'm working on that. So
Yeah.
so that was my next question is, do you have any questions for me? So I'm going to answer that before you
Yeah.
actually ask any more.
Hmm.
So what I am working on right now is an actual preschool program. I am one of my graduates of my dysgraphia specialty is helping me co-write a preschool program. Another OT that has graduated from my program is helping me write a companion to Handwriting Brain Body Disconnect. We're actually creating a protocol of different steps that you can use. So we're creating it in 3 categories. One would be for the parent, and these are strategies that
Oh,
you
good.
can do for the parent if they have a visual spatial issue. Working on the teacher, and I
Hmm.
believe we're really not going to delineate out a whole lot between the teacher and the dyslexia specialist, because I think that you can flow over into the OT thing and have much more detailed category and more on details on breaking down the visual spatial
Hmm.
memory motor and the different types of dysgraphia. One of the areas that I know is a weakness in the book
Hmm.
is the sentence formation, paragraph formation section. And we're really trying to glean out some areas to make that a little bit more solid.
Okay.
And then after we're done with that, we're
That
also
would
going to
really
be
be helpful.
working.
I love that you mentioned. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I love that you mentioned that you're starting in preschool because in Kelly Cartwright's book on executive function, she talks about in the brain development that it's in preschool where those
Hmm.
executive function skills are becoming solidified and the
Yes.
critical importance of helping children develop those self-help skills and
Yes.
moms and dads not doing it for them but
Yes.
empowering them. And I have a preschooler, so that really really hits home for me. Like,
Yes.
yeah, I could zip his jacket check it for him every time. But would he learn
Mhm.
how to do those self-help skills on his own, or open his own snack,
Yeah.
or, unscrew
Yes.
something, things like that?
Yeah.
All that,
And,
all those good executive function skills, carrying out tasks, all start in preschool.
right. And one of the areas that I did not address in handwriting brain body disconnect that I knew was something that needed to be addressed is being addressed in the preschool program, and that is auditory perception.
Ooh, okay.
So we are really looking at that, the phonics and the phonological awareness, and really breaking that apart and looking at it from a science perspective, and really trying to pull in some strategies that you can use for auditory delineation.
That's wonderful. Well, I
So
am so excited for you.
thank you. And then so let me continue on the other end is
Yeah.
I'm also want to continue and really work on middle school, high school, then a college program, and then a corporate program, because one of the things that I realized after getting started with this program and answering that mom's question was um, I have a higher level dysgraphia myself. And the reason I discovered that is I kept getting fired from jobs because of lack of documentation.
Mm,
And I'm really was struggling. So the book was my way of building my own self-confidence that I can actually put word to paper and make a sentence. But what
wow.
I also tell people is what you see on paper is probably been edited like 5 times through several different people, because I can't create a sentence myself on paper without having to fix it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I love that you have this unique perspective and personal connection to what you do.
Yeah, so thank you.
Yeah.
And my ultimate dream is to have a research institute that is specifically for dysgraphia. I'm really trying to delineate the writing part. Not that I don't think that the dyslexia is there, but I think there's a lot of research being done there. There's not as much being done specifically on the dysgraphia. And I
Yeah.
really want to try and delineate handwriting problems,
Yeah.
dysgraphia, and different aspects, and really have a comprehensive a pre-K through adulthood program. That so as we conclude our time today,
Mm.
was there anything else that you wanted to ask?
No, you know what? I think you've covered where you're going next, because I think that was my biggest curiosity. What are the goals? Um, there is still so much to be learned about dysgraphia. So
Yes.
it just as dyslexia is, it's just greatly misunderstood, or we don't know what we don't know. And for
Yeah.
classroom teachers, they want that. They want the theory side, but they also want the practical side. So
Yes.
how can we get that knowledge, those
Yes.
practical strategies into their hands?
Yeah. I
I think
hope
that's the
that
biggest goal now.
yeah, so one of the things I've created excuse me, one of the things I created recently I shared with your book group, and that was how to use a word search in a non-traditional manner.
Hmm.
And I I have a whole list of strategies that I want to do with that, kind of a pulling activities like that and coming up with non-traditional ways of utilizing them that you that you typically use in the classroom. So I don't know, how did you feel about the word search,
Hmm.
non-traditional word search strategies? Were they something that you had thought about before?
No, the other thing you were talking about is hidden pictures too.
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't thought about how useful those can be, and doing those with children. So, like, and those little hidden pictures, like in Highlights magazine, we're
Mm-hmm.
like digging those all out
Mm-hmm.
now.
Where's Waldo? I
Right?
spy.
Right? All that. So,
Yeah, I love doing the I Spy with my little eye with the kids as we were driving down the highway,
right.
and
Yeah.
looking for letters on license plates while we're traveling, or looking
Right.
for the kangaroo in the cow field, which doesn't happen in
Absolutely doesn't
Pennsylvania very
happen.
often.
No. Oh, anything to keep those long car trips going. Oh my goodness. So, yeah, no,
Yes.
well, I'm just once again so thrilled that you agreed. Sedum Nebel, author of the Simple Words Decodable Chapter books, had connected me to you. And
Yes.
so that is how I first learned all about you and then got a hold of your book. And then we were just so excited to get started in the book group with it. And now we're just going to learn even more from you in the conference. And
Mhm.
I'm just so grateful and excited to have this connection with you now.
Wonderful. So, as my audience is a lot of them are occupational therapists, could when can I share your book group with them?
Yeah.
Could, so that they're aware that it's out there. So if you get a bunch of occupational therapists that are interested in joining your group, you know where they came from. Um,
Absolutely. Yeah,
so
I love occupational therapists. I used to whenever I would teach cursive handwriting to my third graders, I would team teach with my
oh,
good
very
occupational
smart.
therapist friend, and she and I would have such a good time.
Co-teaching is a fabulous model and
Yeah,
a great
it
way of
was.
collaborating on teaching and helping decrease the vocabulary, because vocabulary is one of the issues that's really a problem with
Hmm.
our kids today. Is one person uses this language, one person uses that language. Helping
Right.
reduce that language barrier is very helpful for our
Right. I
students.
learned a great deal from her too on the importance of getting your body prepared for a written task and
Yeah,
doing those hand warm-ups, which we were discussing as we were reading your book too, and so it
yeah.
was all
Oh,
good
here's
stuff.
what. Here, I'm going to give you away a little secret that we're working on with the preschool program.
Okay.
Is we're working on doing something similar to one of the activities that they do in Brain Gym. In Brain Gym, they do the lazy eight where you're moving your hands like
Yeah.
this.
Hmm.
We're talking about doing that, the very similar to that, but we're talking about making the letters. So having the kids stand next to their desk.
Okay.
Now, think about it. Make a vertical eight instead of a lazy eight and feel how your body wiggles. I thoroughly say that
Oh
it's
boy, you
gonna,
really have to store across the midline. I feel like, right.
yeah, but it also is gonna be a
I like
really
that.
good, it's really gonna be a good core exercise for us
It
adults because
is.
it's gonna decrease those hips forever.
Totally. Yeah, I could
Uh,
add like, some lunges in there.
There we go. So that is one of the things that we're talking about is whole body exercises and incorporating that into the letters. So think
Excellent.
about a vertical eight and making that with your body and trying to use your entire arm length to do it. Now here on the webcam, I'm trying to be
Mhm.
simple and
Yeah,
keep in the webcam, but when you're actually standing and doing it and trying to make that big eight, it, watching kids do it, I just got a giggle, and they're struggling. They can't make the circle, the half a circle, cross midline, get that other half going, and come
right.
back up to the top. And I think it's because our bodies, our joints, and our shoulders are not used to that motion.
I agree.
But we are using that motion when we're making the number eight,
Yeah,
and so kids struggle with that number, and so that's some of the reason that we're going to do that. So as you're working on some treatment strategies this coming fall, before we get to the point of having that published, there's some ideas for you that are beyond what you've learned in the presentation that I gave.
absolutely. And I know starting with that large muscle group to prepare them for the fine motor task,
Yes.
right? So
Yes. So the exercise I'd love to
important.
do with all,
So
yeah.
you have to be
But
able.
yeah, here's
No,
the
no, go ahead.
exercise I want to do with all kids, but uh, it would be absolutely a horrible debacle. Is having all kids do hand, not head, hand stands along the wall
Okay.
5 minutes before they ever write.
Really? Why? Why?
Okay, so one of the things that we're doing when we're standing is we're putting our full weight on our hips.
Okay.
We don't ever get the chance to put our full weight on our shoulders.
No, no.
So by doing the handstand we're putting our full weight on an extended shoulder.
All
We're
right. I
putting our
can't do a
hands back in a full
handstand though.
I know, putting
I
our
need to
hands back in
practice.
a full extension and
Right.
getting those extensor muscles strengthened. So can you imagine though the debacle of trying to even do one kid at a time up on the doing a handstand, let alone a whole classroom? Okay,
I know.
classroom, handstand against the wall,
Handstand,
go.
right? Or okay, we're gonna start writing, but first let's do some handstands. That would be so much fun. Well, my daughter would love that because she loves all kinds of gymnastics, so
Well,
she'd
there
be
you go.
totally
There's
game
her
for it.
activity.
Yeah.
And, the kiddos that can actually do the handstand in the middle of the room are
Hmm.
getting even better reaction.
Right.
And
Then
then
against
I
the
think
wall.
about, the show Arrow, where they're doing the handstands, where they're actually doing push-ups on the handstand. Did
Oh
you ever
my
see those?
gosh.
No,
Yes.
no. But you've got to have a lot of shoulder strength to be able
Yep.
to do that, and a lot of
Mhm.
upper body muscle strength to do that.
Big time.
That's not going to happen with our kids, but that is, if the kids were to have that muscle strength, that would
Hmm.
conquer a lot of the motor issues.
Yes, for sure.
So
Absolutely.
there we go. There's my handwriting debacle, but I think that would be the ideal exercise for all our kids. Just a matter of trying to find a way that makes that an easy activity to do. So
Hmm.
what I do really is I have them hold a book over their head
Okay.
and then possibly do two and see if they can do it without knocking the two off.
Yeah, I like
So
that.
so that's what I do so I don't have the debacle, but
Right.
that is I did want to share that with you.
Yeah. I love
So
it. I can't wait to watch your presentation and
thank
have
you. You haven't
everybody.
seen it yet? You haven't
Oh,
watched any?
I like to go in fresh with everyone's. I've previewed them, but I haven't watched the entire thing. I've just I right now I'm more on the technical side where
Hmm.
my brain is just making sure like everything is uploaded correctly, the audio is there, everything's working, no cutoffs
Yes.
like that. And then I can go in and watch them
Got it. Got it.
process, ask
So,
questions, that.
so other than your conference, is there anything else that you'd like to share?
The Literacy Nest is, we've got a lot of exciting things coming up. The biggest thing that I have been working on the past few months is to help teachers make that transition into distance learning, but also trying not to sacrifice the fact that, yes, we can't really replicate what we do in person with dyslexia
Mm.
intervention, but there are supports and strategies that we can put in place to make that online session as accessible and as powerful as we possibly can in the time we have with that child. So I'm working
Mhm.
hard on making sure that my materials are accessible in that way. And I also have part of the literacynest.com is an amazing tool for for teachers who are building up their lesson plans and need to create word lists and templates and games,
So you have a lot
interactive
of that
games.
kind of for free
It's a membership site. There's
membership.
a free
Okay.
trial, and then there's an inexpensive rate where for different paid plans where people can store and save all of their word
Okay.
lists that they create and templates. It's called Word List Builder. So if people want to check that out, they can go to www.theliteracynest.com and they can sign up for a free 3-week trial and try it there. And we have lots of
Wow.
fun updates coming to that too.
Wow. Well, I learned something new about you.
Yeah,
I have to
yeah.
check that out because I'm always looking for word lists and trying to help my students because I'm not necessarily the one that's teaching in the classroom, but I'm definitely the one remediating it outside the classroom.
Same here. Yeah, yeah, we have a very unique job and I love it. I do.
Yeah.
So,
So thank you for coming on today, Miss
yeah,
Emily. It
thank
is
you.
great to have meet you actually face to face and virtually in person. It's really great.
Right?
I'm
Yeah.
gonna I'm going to do my best to get this out as soon as possible because you have a very timely event that's coming up, and I want to make sure that anybody who's out there can really get the maximum benefit from you.
Right. I'll make sure to give you the link, or you have the link that you can share for if people would like to sign up for the conference. We'd love
Mhm.
to have you. And it's not just for teachers or tutors, it's for anybody.
It's for
Parents,
parents, it's for
welcome.
OTs, it's for speech therapists.
Homeschoolers
Yeah,
and school administration. Absolutely. We'd love to have
yes.
you.
So thank you.
Thank
Thanks for
you.
joining me today, Emily Gibbons from the Literacy Nest. Again, I'm Cheri, your dysgraphia consultant. Thank you.